In this video, I'm going to talk about how being alone is going to make you a shit ton of money, and you probably don't even realize it. Here's the thing. I literally went through this myself, so make sure to watch the video to actually understand what I mean, and then also use this video and what I say, apply it to your own life, and you'll see the actual results you get out of it, right? So what I mean by being alone is going to make you a shit ton of money is I'll give you a real life example so you actually understand before I really dive deep into what I mean specifically. But essentially, what has happened in my life whenever I was alone was you always come up with something, right? Because you realize that when you're alone, you have nothing to do. You have nobody to hang around with. You have nobody to waste your time away with. You have nothing else to do besides actually making money. Because when you're lonely, when you're alone, when you're sitting in the fucking sofa on the couch, you have nothing to do, you're just like, shit, I gotta do something with my life. And this is literally what happened to me because I was working a regular ass sales job in an office, crazy ass lights blinking and just screen all day. And I was just like, shit, dude, I'm literally doing nothing except just fucking waking up, going to this slave ass job, and then coming home, working out, if I even did that, and then just like on repeat, right? And then it almost hits you like, dude, I have nothing to hang around, not nobody to hang around with, I have nothing to do. What is really going on? What am I doing with my life, right? And when that happens, you start thinking, you start thinking about things you can do. How are you going to make money? How are you actually going to show some progress in life? And that only happens when you're alone. Because this is the trap most people fall into, and this is what I fell into myself. When things start going well because you're alone for some time, you start doing well. You start being business minded, business driven, you start making a shit ton of money, and then all of a sudden, people just pop up into your life, right? Because now you have money, now you have motion, you have aura, you have some movement. And now all of a sudden you're making some money, you're having new friends, you're spending time with people, maybe even have a partner. And then just like you start spending that time with different people, and what ends up happening is you get comfortable. You're not thinking about how to make progress, how to get further within your business, how to make more money. You're not thinking about these things because what you're thinking about is what you're going to do with that friend, or what you're going to do when you're not lonely anymore, and what you're going to do over here and that. And then it's just like, dude, you have all these plans, but you stopped doing the thing that got you there in the first place, right? Because you have to look at it almost as a root cause of what actually got me in this position. Well, what got me in this position was starting to really think and starting to take action on things that I had to do when nobody was around. So, why aren't you doing that now that everybody else is around? Well, because you don't have that time, or you're not even in that state of mind. Not saying you have to be lonely to make a shit ton of money, because that's not the case. But what is the case is that you still have to move the same way even when people are around, right? That's why usually you see people call out, like, when you have big leaders in companies or whatever, you usually see people calling them mean. Oh no, that guy is not a good leader, he's not fair, what type of CEO is that? They don't care about their employees, what, all these things, right? It's not that they don't care, but they're just moving the same exact way that they have always done, which is what got them there in the first place. Because if they start bending over backwards for other people and whatnot, they're just gonna slowly stagnate and lose all their progress and just have to start from ground zero again. And guess what happens when they start from ground zero? They're gonna do the same exact thing, cutting people off, being just like super strict, and just doing everything they can to actually show progress. That's going to be the same exact thing that's going to happen. So instead of bending over backwards and just like pleasing everybody, they're just strict from the get go and doing what got them there in the first place. And that's why you have to realize yourself that you probably have a bunch of people around you, people talking in your ear, left, right, and center, people saying this, people saying that. Dude, Be alone for some time. Go for a walk. Dude, I know a guy that literally is like, he books an Airbnb in some crazy ass mountain where literally nobody's around except from just like monks and shit. So he books that and he's there for like 2 to 3 months, just isolated with his business partner, grinding away on the business, getting so much getting literally like a year's worth of progress in 3 months. And then he socializes and relaxes the rest of the 9 months of the year. But in those 3 months, he's basically isolated, just focusing on one mission, one simple goal. Not saying you have to go to that extreme, but sometimes being isolated, being alone is is actually what's going to make you a fuck ton of money. It's not the other people, it's not all these things on social media, it's not everything. It's doing what you keep avoiding and doing all the work that you're just putting to the side, pushing over here, the work that you just end up never doing is what is actually going to get you to the goal. And you're never really going to do that unless you're alone. So realize that being lonely is what is actually going to make you a shit ton of money. And I can go on and on about this, but to just again give you guys the simple example of me, just practical things. I was in that position, started making some money because I was like, shit, what am I doing with my life? Started making some money. And when I started making some money, oh shit, got into relationships, got new friends, spent money on that, and then this, and then that. And then it's just like, fuck, I'm stagnating. I'm stuck at 10K a month now. What am I gonna do? How am I gonna get to 2030? Cut all that shit out. Went back to the root thing of like, okay, what is actually gonna get me there? As soon as I broke all that out, was lonely, started thinking, going for walks, being by myself, just like doing the things that got me to 10 in the first place. Boom, 20K a month right away. Boom, 30K a month, right? So those are the things that you just have to understand. And you can have that same mindset with people around. Please don't get me wrong, but if you're just like a young kid or you're just somebody that's not really gotten there yet and you're basically trying, you feel like you're trying everything you can to get there, but you never really do, you have to make these sacrifices in your life, dude. It's brutal, but it is the reality of the situation. Like, how bad do you really want it, right? It's cliche and people say it all the time, but it's genuinely the case. It's like you see the nerds, you see the guys with no social life, none of that, none of this, none of that. All they're doing is they're just working. Well, yeah, because they have a mission in mind and they're getting to their mission, right? While you and me and the guys with all these social circles and whatnot, you'll even take this just like look at, no, I'm ranting and whatnot, but just look at like people in high school, in college and shit like that. Whenever they're like the popular kid, they have this friend circle, they have a bunch of people around, they're not really lonely, right? Their mind is just like all over the place. Their energy, they're just like life is basically dependent on pleasing other people, which is what it really comes down to, right? Because you have to go to this party to stay popular, or you have to go here to please that friend, or if you want to be in this group with the cool girls, like you're gonna have to meet us at XYZ, and then you have to fuck this person, and right? So it's just like all of these things are really just distracting you away from the main goal that you want to build in the first place, which is hopefully to get rich as fuck, right? So understand this. And now you might even be a guy that's like, yo, dude, I'm the unpopular kid, I'm lonely, and I still can't do shit, right? If that's the case, you have to realize what is really going on in life. And what usually ends up going on is that you're not doing the things that you have to do to get to where you want to go, right? Because hard work is definitely important. But if you're putting all the hard work into the wrong things, you're never going to get there. I have a friend of mine as well, which literally did this. And he told me because he could have, I was telling him like what I was doing. We were making 30K a month profit, and he was like, yo, what are you doing? And then I just tell him what I do, and he's like, oh, that sounds cool. And I was like, yeah, what are you doing? And he was like, no, I'm doing this marketing thing for e-commerce, or just like making copywriting and emails and shit. And I was like, cool, bro. Not gonna like tell him that it's bad or that you can't make money with it, because you definitely can. But I was just like, bro, you have a prime opportunity right here to ask somebody who's actually making the money you want to make about how to go about it. And instead of doing that, you're just like explaining all this nonsense for e-commerce stores that aren't even really just like going to get you there anyway. So he's like probably a way harder worker than me. Like he works way harder than me. He's disciplined, he's doing everything he's supposed to, but he's just putting it in the wrong vehicle, he's putting it in the wrong areas. So he doesn't really get there, right? And that's the problem. It's just like, dude, even if you're hardworking, but you're putting it in the wrong place, you're not gonna get there. And that's the sad truth. I was there myself 4 years straight trying to do YouTube, trying to do music, trying to do a bunch of random shit that just like if I was really the business mind that I am today, I would have just realized that I was wasting time and just did something else instead. Although it gave me experiences and it will for you too, I wish I was there sooner, right? So knowing that now, it would obviously be easier to make that change. Now, with all that being said, um, if you're lonely, at least you'll realize this. That's the whole point. Anyway, I hope this helps. If you guys have any questions, I'll leave my IG down below. Just shoot me a text. I'm happy to help. Besides that, I'll catch you guys next time. Take care.